now.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Imperfect but Love. I'm Vanessa,
Lisa,
Vivian,
and Jelly.
And we are Imperfect but
Loved.
We are so excited that you have joined us another episode tonight. We have some exciting episode that you don't want to miss. So if you have not done so, please go ahead and share this video. Be a blessing to your friends and to your family members. I want to do something different. I want to see the viewers. If you are viewing us from out of state, click on the little hearts. Give us some love if you are watching us from out of state. And if you are watching us in California, put those little thumbs up. So hearts for out of state and thumbs up for Californians. Mm-hmm. As you all know, we are an online ministry, and we could not have done this without your love, your support, and your prayers. So thank you so much. And you have no idea that when you guys are sharing these videos, you guys are doing a tremendously amazing work for the kingdom of God.
That's right.
As you all know, this is the March of April. A lot of you guys know that this month is autism awareness. Yes. But did you guys know that it is also the month of sexual assault awareness?
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
So, if you have not seen our topic, today we will be discussing about sexual assault awareness. This episode will have sensitive content. Please use your discretion. If this is triggering you, please take care of yourself. Reach out if you need someone to talk to. Resources will be provided at the end of the show.
Yes.
So let's get started.
Yay.
All right. So we're just gonna jump right into it. So we're really excited this evening. I get the honor of presenting our special guest today. When you see her, you'll know why. She looks just like me.
Yes.
I gave birth to her. I'm super proud and honored to be able to introduce my daughter, Jazmin Tejada, today as our special guest.
Yay!
She'll go into a little bit about her history and her background, but it's just an honor and a moment of, yes, a proud mama moment that she gets to educate all of us on such an important topic. So, Jazmin, welcome to Imperfect but Love.
Yay. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Excited. Of course, I'm gonna say give her some hearts and some love on those emojis, right? So, Jazz, introduce yourself a little bit. Let our viewers know a little bit about you and why you're important to have today.
Yes. So, okay, my name is Jazmin. Like she said, I am Vivian's daughter, not her sister. A lot of people think I'm her sister, right? But I am her daughter, and I'm just super excited to be here. I love the show. I watch all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like this topic is so important, and it's an honor to be able to come and talk about something that's very passionate, of mine. So just to give everybody some context, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I have been working in the field of victim services for about a little over 5 years now, going on actually a little over 6 years now. So it's been really awesome. I started my career off at a nonprofit in New York. So shout out to all my New York viewers. So basically at that nonprofit, we worked with victims of all crimes. So we saw a little bit of everything. We saw identity theft, physical assault, sexual assault, home invasion, you name it, we saw it. So that was like the introduction to the field for me, and it was amazing. I learned a ton. Eventually I transitioned over to working with child victims of physical abuse, sexual abuse, and even some homicide cases. So definitely heavy stuff, and but again, super honored to be able to work with those families and just be in the field, you know. So fast forward, life brought me to California, and now I have the pleasure of working in the local military base here as an advocate for their sexual assault program. So yeah, it's been really awesome, and I've loved every second of it. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thanks so much.
And we're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I educate me a little bit. So I have
Yes.
heard of like sexual harassment at work.
Yeah.
What is the difference between sexual awareness or sexual assaults
Yeah.
and harassment, sexual harassment? Is it the same?
So,
different?
no, that's a really good question, and I think it's a perfect way to start, only because I feel like everybody gets them confused. And for fair reason, they're very similar in sounding, and but they are very different. So, just to start with, sexual harassment is unwanted behavior, right, of a sexual nature that basically promotes a hostile work environment. So it's always tied to the workplace. Like you said, you heard sexual harassment in the workplace, and that's exactly what that is. As I said, it's always tied to the workplace. Again, we kind of think about it as in general, like sexual harassment can happen anywhere, but, or like those little cases where somebody, says a comment in the grocery store or something. That is just harassment, although being sexual in nature. Sexual harassment is always tied to the workplace.
Okay.
So that involves like comments, unwanted comments, jokes even, or sometimes unwanted physical contact that's like, a shoulder massage even, those creepy things like, okay, like let back up,
you're in my
situation.
space.
Yeah, give me my space. So that's all sexual harassment. Sexual assault now kind of gets a little bit deeper, and we're talking about situations where there's penetration or sexual contact, so unwanted sexual contact. So again, it's penetration. So when we think about sexual assault, we automatically jump to rape, right?
Yes.
And that's that penetrative offense. But then there's also that unwanted sexual contact part that everybody needs to also understand. So that involves contact to unwanted or our protected body parts. So think about areas that are typically covered by a swimsuit, right?
Okay.
Also, your
Yeah.
breasts, everything that's covered by a swimsuit, including your inner thigh. So just something to note.
Okay.
So it could be overclothing, underclothing, even attempts to touch those areas could sometimes fall under sexual assault.
Wow.
So another distinction: sexual harassment isn't necessarily always a crime. Although taken very seriously, it's not always a crime. Sexual assault, if it meets the element of that crime, it is almost always a crime. So it's always a crime. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
different.
the kind of like the big distinction between the two. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So,
For sure.
assault or sexual assault, it happens in different times, right? It's not just like you said in the workplace, or when you're dating or.
Right. Yeah. So sexual assault, it can be in any context. So it could be strangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although it being a little bit more rare, that can happen. It could be in the context of a dating relationship, or even in the context of marriage.
Wow.
We don't talk about that often, but it's true. There's a statistic or just a fact that it wasn't until 1993 that in all 50 states it was found illegal to have to be raped in the context of a marriage.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So yeah, but before that, it was seen as just like a domestic thing. Like, okay, it doesn't belong in the courtroom. You guys figure it out at home. It's a husband and wife type of situation.
Wait, what year again?
1993.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's not long ago.
No.
Like,
That's not
we
long
were
ago.
all already born.
28 years ago.
Oh my
So
gosh.
those cases will get thrown out of court because
Before?
they would have to figure it out.
Well, basically, yeah, it just wasn't seen as a crime.
Because
at
you're
that
married.
point. Yeah,
and
it was seen
people
as a domestic thing.
automatically assume, well, you're married, so it should be okay. And why is one saying no?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, wow, that's interesting. So, even in marriage, you have the okay to say, you know what?
No.
Not today.
You can absolutely say no. Anytime. For sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's really good information.
That's a really good question. Yeah.
Yes. Now, talk to me a little bit about consent. What does that mean, or not mean? Yes, mean,
Yeah.
and then the meaning of giving consent
Sexual
to
assault.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think obviously we can't have the conversation about sexual assault without talking about consent. Because
Okay.
I think
important.
in our field, like, consent is everything. Consent, basically, in just like a short sentence, it's an agreement, right? It's an agreement. It's a constant conversation. It's a constant checking in with yourself and with your partner. Okay, and what's important to know is that it could be yes verbal, so you could say yes or no, but it could also be nonverbal. You know, what are you paying attention to? Are you checking in? Are they saying yes, but are they also actively engaging, or are they not? Are they pushing away, or are they not? You know, those are all things that we need to be conscious of.
Yeah.
You know, especially because I mean we're not mind readers at all.
Right,
You know?
right.
So you can't assume that you know what your partner wants and doesn't want. Yes, if you've been in a relationship for 50 years, there's things that maybe you know that, you know, like, of course you can do that, but you have to be willing to talk, to have a conversation, and just, again, pay attention to those nonverbals too, because they're just as important. So yeah, that's, without consent, it could be a really big issue. And there's situations when people can't give consent, right, when they're intoxicated, and they're not conscious enough to be able to make that decision. Children, you know, so people didn't even know, but inmates in prisons, they can't give consent to sexual activity. Just in different scenarios.
When you say they can't, what do you mean? Like
in prison?
Yeah.
It's only because they're a ward of the state. So,
So
they're not.
belong?
Yeah.
They belong to the state.
yeah.
They're a ward of the state, so they're not permitted to, be involved in those situations.
Well, okay,
sexual
well, I guess that
activity.
makes that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but that's that. Yeah.
So, like me, that I have 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Since they were very, very little, I've always told them that it's not okay for people to touch them in their private areas.
Yeah.
And I would tell them it doesn't matter if it's mom, dad, uncle, grandpa, brother, cousins. It's not okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they are little. They're family. They feel maybe safe with them, but you don't know their intentions, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all have a family member or a friend, or we all know someone that has gone through it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And most of the time, it happens at home. It can happen anywhere, but
Yeah, of course.
when it happens to children, I think because they know the person, because mom and dad hug the person, I don't know if they feel like, I lost the word, but not that
Somehow
it's,
they could trust them.
yes, trust.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
You know, and
It's important that we all have that talk with our children. That
Big time.
Yes.
even if it's I'm like that mom that even if they're in the doctors, I'm like, I'm gonna be in there like jelly.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah.
sorry. The
My
only
kids are
time I couldn't
little.
go in was when they were doing an X-ray on their teeth. But
Yeah.
other than that, I was like, oh, okay. Tell me if they touched you. 'cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this.
It's because what are the
Yeah.
statistics that
Yeah.
it's somebody you know? What does that look like, Jess?
So I mean, it's anywhere between 70 and 80% that the victim knows who the offender is.
Wow.
So it's a lot more common that you know who it is. Those stranger assaults do happen, and they're just as traumatic. But there's an added layer when you know the person, when you
That
have
trust.
that trust, and it's completely shattered. So that adds to it, you know,
Yeah.
where you thought that, oh, okay, I guess they start to question even how they trust people.
Yeah.
And their own like view of and their perspective and how they process and all of that. It's huge, but it's important, like you said, to talk to your kids, have that conversation. You know, I'm a safe place.
yes,
You know, you can come talk to me about anything, and you're not gonna get in trouble.
yes,
You know, I promise I won't be mad at you. Having those conversations is so important because unfortunately it does happen. You know, kids do get hurt in that way, and again, it's important to have that conversation with your children, and create that safe place, safe space that they can feel comfortable to talk to you.
And I think it's important for parents to not assume that your child's making it up,
yes,
right? Because
Of
sometimes your child will come and play, call Fox, right? And
Yeah.
not necessarily tell you the truth on different things, but if they're coming to you with something like that, take it serious,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think maybe that's why sometimes kids don't
Yeah.
come. And I think, I don't know that I think I did everything right, telling my kids, don't do this or don't do that, but
Yeah.
make sure they have that safe place.
And I
Yeah,
also think in our Hispanic culture, it is it's like, no, how can grandpa do that? Or
Yes.
no, how can your uncle do that? No, like they could.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
speaking of Hispanic cultures, make sure you kiss your uncle today. Make sure you go hug your friend or hug your cousin. You know, I've often said, if kids want to, it's rude not to in the Hispanic culture anyway.
Yes.
No, it's not rude. If your child feels uncomfortable,
Yeah.
listen to them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's their consent, you know?
That's
Like,
right.
They're able to say, I honestly don't feel comfortable. Like, don't force me to show that type of affection to someone if that child doesn't feel comfortable, you know?
That's right.
It's
Studying
important.
their body language, because they
Yeah.
will feel his consent towards
That's
that.
right. That's right.
Yeah. With all my kids, even with my husband's side of the family, and I remember when they were born, my boys especially, because they were the shy ones, and they didn't want to hug, and they're like, "What do you mean you don't want to hug me?" And I'm like, "It's okay." You know, he just doesn't want to hug,
That's
and
right.
it's okay. And so, yeah, but in our
It's okay.
culture, they're like, "Well, I'm there," and I'm like, "I understand, but let him get comfortable.
Yes.
He
That's right.
doesn't want to be touched, and it's okay." So it's like
Right.
us as parents, we definitely have to stand up for our
That's
kids.
right.
Yeah, they have
And-
control over their little bodies.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
like it is what it is.
So, from what you're saying is that who could be a perpetrator then? You're saying anybody can.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody. There's no stereotypical view. You know, you can't pick out a sex offender on a lineup.
Right.
And
know?
it's not just men.
Oh yeah, it's not just men. It could be a male or female. No matter the age, no matter the ethnicity, race, it doesn't matter. It could be anyone. You know, I feel like TV shows and all of that really makes perpetrators seem like the creepy guy, right? It's always a male.
Hiding in the
Yes.
bushes.
Hiding in the
Right?
bushes
At night.
with a
Those
weapon.
CSI shows.
Yes.
And
That's
they
so
typically
true.
use a lot of force. They typically
Yes.
like beat the victim up.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
assault, right? And they're even before that they're stalking the person, you know. That is not the way these things happen 70 to 80% of the time.
Wow.
Right? Like that's not what we're seeing. Does it happen? Yes. I'm not going to say that it does not. But the majority of the time, again, 70 to 80%, they know who the victim knows who the offender is.
Wow.
It's not some person hiding in the bushes, you know.
Right.
So yeah. And then when we think about like victim side, you know, who could be a victim?
Yeah.
Anybody can be a victim.
Yes.
Again, no matter the age, ethnicity, race, gender, it doesn't matter. Nobody's exempt from that, you know. Unfortunately, and again in TV shows, it's typically a female. She's typically young, maybe dressing a little provocatively, maybe drinking alcohol, out at night by herself, and she probably fought so hard that she has DNA under her fingernails to get a positive,
Right.
you know,
Right.
identification
To
of
get proof.
the offender.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's not the case either, you know. So.
That's actually funny, and that leads us into my question. Actually, my next question.
Yeah.
There's inaccurate and destructive attitudes out there and ideas that, well, she wore that, so she deserved it. You know, she was dressed, she was out at night, and shouldn't have been, so that's why it happened to her.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think about that attitude that, unfortunately, a lot of people have? That person deserved it.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, it's ingrained in society. You know, when we see a situation that doesn't necessarily seem like what we see on TV, you know, it's not that scenario, but everything else seems fine, and maybe the perpetrator seems like somebody that could be trusted, right? He's not a creepy person, so how could they do that, you know? Or a victim who maybe was dressing a little provocative, right? Or was maybe drinking too much. Well, it's easy for us to think, okay, that situation, if I don't do A, B, and C, then it won't happen to me.
Interesting.
You know, it's an attempt to almost protect ourselves, so that, okay, if I don't do that, then it's not on me. You
So
know?
if I don't go out at night, it won't happen to me.
Right.
I didn't ask for it.
It's easy to have that, but it's that mentality is so destructive
Right.
to victims, because who's going to want to come forward after that? You know, after hearing that conversation on TV or just in society again, like you hear those jokes and things. Well, she must have wanted it, you know, or
Looking for it.
she was looking for it. What else? What did she expect was going to happen? You know, and putting all of the pressure and blame on that person for being a victim, and not changing their perspective and looking at, well, why did this person cross the line?
Yeah.
Why did that person perpetrate? That's the question.
That is the question.
That's where prevention is focused, right? Why is an offender offending? It's not why did a victim get assaulted. You know, it's not their fault.
Wow.
That someone else crossed the line.
So would that be victim blaming? Is that?
That's exactly victim blaming, you know, and of course that's a huge barrier as to why people are not going to want to come forward. Because
Right.
if I say anything, and it's not even just like, you know, strangers, it could be family members that will not believe you,
Yes.
you know, or blame you for what happened.
Right.
And that's going to keep someone from wanting to maybe go make a statement to law enforcement if that's something that they choose to do, or go see a therapist if that's something that they choose to do. Just go talk to somebody. That's going to affect that.
Right.
And they're not going to want to do that.
And that's what hopefully we're able to share and show. That stigmatism needs to be cut, needs to be stopped. It is important to go seek help. It is important. Don't let what's out there, these thoughts and attitudes dictate how you react if you're a victim.
Absolutely.
Right? If you were violated. Because that's my space. You violated me, and so I want to talk about that, right? And it's not easy. Gosh, I can't imagine, because I've never been in that situation, so I can't imagine. But to have the courage to come out and talk, to have the courage to say, I need to seek help because something happened to me, good for you. Kudos to that person.
It's absolutely so strong. I mean, we say this in some of our trainings when we teach, you know, think about, you know, without being explicit, think about your best sexual experience, right? And imagine having to tell someone about it.
Yes.
That's embarrassing. That's not something exactly that you want to share all the details of, right? So imagine your worst possible sexual experience and have to tell that to a detective, have to tell that to a lawyer, multiple lawyers, multiple detectives. Maybe sit in a courtroom and talk to a room full of jury members about your worst sexual experience.
That unfortunately have that stereotypical mindset.
Yes.
Could.
No, and it's absolutely, and we see hung juries
Oh my
all the time.
gosh.
And what that means is, in criminal cases, the jury has to have a verdict that's unanimous. And if that doesn't happen, then it's a hung jury. And we see that very often in sexual assault cases where people get hung up on those little things like, well, she was walking out at night by herself. Well, I mean, how can I find this person guilty?
Wow.
They were kind of asking for it.
That's just unbelievable.
Or she was intoxicated.
She was intoxicated.
She drank too much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's important to know is that a lot of times after those cases come out and the jury members can speak, it's more than not women who were hung up on those little details, because it's hard. It's a burst of your little protective bubble. That again, well, if I don't do that, so and I've never been sexually assaulted, so what did she expect?
Oh my gosh.
You know, so we can't necessarily frame that like only men think this way, and that's not true. You know, it's a way to protect ourselves.
It's definitely true. You know.
That's
true.
And talking about men, this also happens to them too, right? It's not
Absolutely.
just women; it's also men.
Yeah.
So how hard it must be for them.
Right?
1 in 6 men will experience sexual assault sometime in their lifetime.
Wow.
Okay. So, and it's not just the penetrative rape cases; it's just using the term in general. 1 in 6. You know, and all of the barriers and struggles that women experience to come forward. There's an even stronger barrier.
Yeah.
Just because you're a man.
Yeah.
You know, wanting to come forward, you're being seen as weak, perhaps homosexual because maybe the offender was a male. Maybe your body responded, and that questions, okay, well, what happened? You know, why did I like it? Question things like that, and it really messes with men. That confusion factor. So it's hard. It's
I mean,
really
I think
hard.
it also like messes with kids because, like, God created our bodies to feel, to enjoy sex.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's something that we do the way we were created. So when, like you said, like you'll have a response. It's not that you're enjoying; it's just your body itself. It's like
it's an automatic response
thing.
to a physical sensation.
Yeah,
That is it.
That's all it is.
That is it. And sometimes men have a hard time grasping that, processing that. Like obviously I didn't want this, but my body reacted, and it's almost like a betrayal of your own body. And it's, well, how am I supposed to handle that?
Yeah.
So
which leads me to actually two things. One is, right, we were talking about the hung jury situation.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, something happened and I want to come forward. Is it about winning this case or is it about healing?
yeah, and I think it depends on the victim's perspective, right? Like what we always ask, like what is it that you would like to see here, but justice we use very loosely in my field because these cases unfortunately are very hard to prosecute. The prosecution rate for sexual assault is in the single digits, so it's very hard, and it's really just for the fact that it's sexual in nature, so it's typically done in private, between two people.
Right.
There's typically almost never a witness to be able to speak into that as proof in a jury, in a trial. So because of that, justice isn't necessarily something that we seek and we work on with clients. It's really, okay, how can we help you work through this trauma?
Wow.
How can we get you on the other side of this? How can we get that resiliency going in you?
I get that that's the reality, but it's very upsetting.
Yes.
Because if you would want justice, right? You did this to me.
Yeah.
But if it was penetrative, for example, and I didn't come forward within a certain amount of time, the proof is gone, right? And the proof may be there, but to prove that I didn't want it.
Yeah,
right?
that's the main
That's
piece.
the piece.
That's the main piece. You can go get a sexual assault forensic exam, get that done. And it's a small window. You have about 5 days after the assault to get that done, and the likelihood every day goes down and lower, that there will be DNA to retrieve and evidence to retrieve. But let's say you go right after.
Right.
Okay, all that does is prove that sexual activity occurred. That's
yes.
it. It does not prove consent. It does not prove whether someone said no or not. And that's when cases come down to, well, he said, she said. And that's really hard to convict on.
Therefore that makes it just difficult for the victim to even come forward. Like, what am I going to come forward for? No one's going to believe me. The stigmatism's out there. I'm just going to waste my time.
Absolutely.
But then I live in silence and I suffer in silence.
Yeah.
And I say because I'm just putting myself in that person's shoes, because again, I'm just imagining. I don't know. But that person lives in silence and doesn't. Why go to you then? Why go get help and ask?
Yeah, I mean, there's that healing process that comes along with it, and just really quickly to go back to the courtroom scenario, it's also I would be remiss not to talk about it. Just the fact that these cases go on for a very long time, and it could be a year, a little over a year that these are in court processing. Dates kept being moved,
Wow.
So victims have to sit in this like waiting space for a long time. And sometimes it's called victim fatigue, right? So you're in this process and all you want to do is heal.
Right.
All you want to do is get past this, but you're stuck waiting for the court to get things going, right? So sometimes, and we'll see a client or victims that say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to drop the charges. I just can't, and for that reason, that's fine. We respect it and we support them through that process. But typically, what does society think when somebody drops the case, right?
They got away with it.
Or
That
they lied.
That they lied.
Right.
Yeah, they absolutely
You dropped the
lied.
case, they lied.
Yeah, like, oh, you got scared and you dropped the
that's
case.
true.
Because if it was me, I would never.
Right, I'd keep
right?
going.
I would
strong.
keep going, right? But you don't know
You don't
what
know
that
until you're
person's
there.
going through. You don't know till you're walking in that person's shoes.
Yes.
So it's important to know that. And the false reporting rate for sexual assault is 3 to 5%. Okay, it's nothing, and it's in line with most major crimes.
Wow.
So when we say that the victim made it up, that the victim is lying, that's completely a misjudgment. Where 95% 5+% are telling the truth. They have factual basis behind their statements.
Wow.
So it's just important to note that, and I think
they're just
yeah.
tired. They're just
Yeah,
tired of
they're
waiting.
just tired, and
They're
they
tired of
yeah, or clients that go forward with a statement and they retract, right? And you know what? I actually don't want to do this.
I don't want
this
to talk
is too
about
scary
it. Yeah.
or whatever.
I don't want to relive it.
I don't want to relive it. I don't want to. I didn't know I had to talk to so many lawyers. Forget it.
Yes.
You know. Again, you think they're lying. You know, but again, we have to know that statistic, and they're not lying.
3 to 5%.
They're not lying.
So low.
Or even like retaliation.
Retaliation's that can absolutely happen
They just want to like just drop everything, that way they can just move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
I mean, that's a scar, and that it's just a process that they have to heal. So it's wow.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff.
I want to go back very quickly to the courtroom.
Yeah.
And if you notice, viewers, we're all wearing jeans
We
today.
are.
We're all wearing denim.
Denim.
And there's actually a story behind the denim. Denim Day, I think it is. Jazz, give us some history on that.
Yeah, so Denim Day, this year is April 28th. Okay, so Denim Day, it's basically, it goes back to a case that happened in Italy where a young woman was assaulted by her driving instructor, was raped by her driving instructor. And she went to court, they did the whole process, and he was found guilty. Later on, the offender wanted to appeal that conviction, saying that he didn't do it. So at the appeals court, the judge overturned that conviction and said, you know what, there's no possible way that you didn't help him because your pants were too tight
Wow.
for him to take off alone. So because of that, he overturned that conviction, and it was obviously a tremendous detriment to her, right? So the next day, and I think everybody else saw that, so the next day all of the women in Italian parliament went into work wearing denim as a sign of solidarity to her. And so every year there's Denim Day, and people just around the world put on denim and show solidarity for victims and these crazy judgment calls that people make and stereotypes and things.
And it's
so.
the 28th, right?
28th.
28th of
It's
April.
It's the 28th. Yep.
So, I mean, I guess we would all be counted today as like.
I mean,
we
these
help
pants are
apparently.
pretty tight.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, right now the skinny jean thing is still, still in. Sorry, not what is it? Generation whatever that does not like skinny jeans.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I
I think
can't.
it's
think.
Gen Z.
Gen
right?
Z, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys might not have to worry about it, but
Yeah.
I'm saying it's like that's the thing. We wear skinny jeans, and to think that it's like that somebody would say that.
Yeah.
That is mind blowing. And I read the article that you sent us, and I'm like, not only was this guy her instructor, he was married.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You go home and look for it, okay? No, you do not touch a kid that you're a teacher to.
Right.
Like that alone.
Yep.
How can you? And I'm not saying that I know that there are people who will who seek that, and no judgment. That's between you and Jesus. But you as the grown up are the one that need to walk away.
Yeah.
Like if you are put in a compromising position, we need to walk away. Like if my husband had told me, like one of his cousins was put in a compromising position where he did not assault the girl, but there was it was he said she said, and it was funny. It's like one of those jokes, that your mom tells you, nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. Nothing good ever happens after 2 a.m. So stay home. But it's like I have 2 boys, and I have to tell my boys, not that the girl would lie or anything, but I also have to tell my boys, hey, don't put yourself in a situation where you're gonna regret something happening. Right?
Yes.
I mean, and I tell my daughter the same thing. I'm like, I understand what you say, like that bubble where like, well, I wouldn't do that, so it would never happen to me.
Yeah.
And like you're saying though, it could be somebody that that you know, a relative. Well, obviously, around a relative, like if we're all going swimming, I wear a two-piece. I don't expect my uncle to do something
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be provocative towards my uncle. No, we're all at the beach. I'm wearing a two-piece. That has nothing to do, you know, where I'm putting myself.
Yeah, you're allowed to dress and feel confident and sexy if you want to.
Yes.
Right.
You know, within reason, but you're
Yes,
allowed
of course.
to, and that doesn't mean that you want to be assaulted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, the same thing for my boys, and I mean, Vanessa, you have boys too. It's like we need to tell our boys too. Okay, guys. Well, coming back to consent, no means no, in all aspects.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even like holding hands.
Right.
I don't want to hold your hand. Okay. You know, it's like we teach them when they're little.
Yes.
Yes.
I know we had talked before. It's like we teach them when they're little so that they don't do something stupid later.
Yeah, and that's the key in prevention, or that's a huge piece of prevention, is starting young. You know, and it's that simple fact, like, okay, if someone says no, like they don't want to share their ice cream, they don't want to share their candy,
That's right.
they don't want to share their toy, whatever, okay, you have to respect what they don't want to share.
Yes.
And that's it. You don't have to teach them necessarily in sexual ways, but in any context. And they'll just grow up understanding that concept of consent.
Yes.
And it's okay to use that word with your kids, you know,
Kids
so
are
that
smart.
they understand. Very smart.
Right. And not to, you know, name their parts special.
Oh,
Right?
yes.
Because
Yeah, that's definitely important. You know, you want them to be aware of their bodies and use
anatomy.
anatomy. Thank you, autonomy. Anatomy. So use the proper words, you know, so that they understand what their body is for real, you know, and it's really
So-
important.
And especially having that talk when they're about to date. If we allow our children to date, I think it's important because kids, we all have a season with kids, and I think at that time where they want a girlfriend or when they want a boyfriend, that's another time where we need to step in.
Yeah.
Reinforce
and
that.
to let them know about being gentlemen and girls being just respectful and
Absolutely.
not allowing any of that stuff. So there will be a talk later. I mean, I feel like yes, it's important to have that foundation when they're little, but if you missed it, it's okay if you have teenagers, have that talk now.
That's right.
Yes.
It's never too late.
It's
No.
never too late.
Never too late. As an adult, it's never too late, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're always learning about this, you know.
So I just want to take it back very quickly. We still have some time. What's the point, right? There's no justice, right? It's a very low percentage that we can prove it, that there's justice is served against this person that did bad against this other person. And I just want to bring it back to healing, right? The healing process, because I think this is very traumatic. But I think there's other, things that are also traumatic that people can heal from if they deal with it, and then they can live a life that's successful. They can live a life where they can then perhaps get married and have a good sexual, experience with their partner, where it won't affect them go forward. So, what does that look like, that healing process? Because I know, I read a comment real quickly of a scar that perhaps never heals, and that just broke my heart. And I think we serve a God that is miraculous and that can heal anything and can get you through anything, right? Can give you the peace, the courage to go through things. But and if you don't serve the Lord, I urge you that is the answer, right? But but aside from that, Jazmin, what does therapy do? How do you encourage that?
I do, absolutely. I think praying, fasting, doing all that stuff is so important. Talking to mentors, absolutely important. But I also firmly believe that God gave wisdom to therapists to help us through these and navigate through these scenarios.
Yes.
We kind of give the illustration of a person who's maybe been sexually assaulted, and immediately after, it's like they're carrying a huge boulder on their shoulders, and it's a struggle to get through every day. They can't do the little things of life because it's that's all they think about is this huge boulder. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, right? But therapy it just helps you, gives you tools on how to chisel away at that big boulder.
Yes.
That's what that therapy does. It gives you the tools so that you can, in situations where maybe you feel triggered, you can ground yourself. It just, again, helps you see the world in a new light again. And eventually you'll keep chiseling away at that big boulder, and it'll never go away completely. It'll turn into a little pebble, and it'll be in your pocket one day, and you'll feel it and be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, and it's still part of your story, but it's not your identity.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I like that.
It's not everything. Yeah. It's part of your story, but it doesn't define you.
Yes.
So it'll be there, but it'll become much more manageable.
And that's why it's important to talk to someone.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to seek help. Find someone you can trust and confide in.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I didn't
yeah.
think I'd cry, but it's making me
Yeah.
so emotional because I just can't imagine not having someone that I could talk to after going through something so devastating.
Yeah.
And if you're out there and you've experienced and you've healed, God bless you, because I just can't imagine having to navigate that, and so therapy is important. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm emotional.
It's important. No, it's okay.
important.
It is. So Jazz, you are in your job. You're considered a first responder then. Like I've seen you carry 2 cell phones. Not because you're a dealer.
Oh yes.
I remember when we first met. I'm like, what? Why do you have 2 cell phones? Like, what you dealing or what?
I'm getting bad. Yeah.
So you're considered a first responder then for
Yes.
this type of situation.
Yes, I am on call 24/7, 365.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah. So what's important to know with that is yes, I'm a first responder by trade. That's what I do. That's what I love doing. But we're all first responders. There could be a time where somebody will find you as that trusted person, as their trusted person, to come tell you what happened to them. And how you respond to them will directly affect how they heal going forward. It will directly affect their decision whether or not they want to go to therapy.
Oh, that's good.
Whether they want to go to report to law enforcement. It's all surrounded on that first initial reaction. So we always say, receive and believe. Receive and believe. It is not your job to determine whether a crime did or did not happen. That's not your job. Let that be the law enforcement agents. Let them do their job. Be unbiased fact finders. That's their job. They came to you and trusted you. That's huge. That's a humbling experience. And I just encourage everybody that's watching, if you're that trusted person for someone, receive and believe. Be there. Just be a listening ear. Be that empathetic person. And help them get tied up with resources that are going to help them long term.
Yeah.
That's what I encourage for sure.
That's amazing. We will have those resources in a little bit.
Yes.
We have 3 that you actually presented us with,
Yes.
and we're going to show the slides right now. Can you tell us a little bit about these? So the first one that we have,
Rain.
it's RAIN.
Is RAIN. So RAIN is the nation's largest anti-sexual violence program, I guess you could say. If you go on their website, they have a ton of amazing statistics. They're all accurate, up to date. And they also run the nation's sexual assault response hotline. So they are bilingual. So they have that same number. You can talk to an advocate, either English or Spanish, and they'll help process what happened. They can do that, and they can help with that immediate crisis response, and get you tied with your local area.
Okay, we
of
also
support.
have a second slide of local support
Yes.
that you gave us.
Yeah, so that's the Coalition for Family Harmony. So if you're in Ventura County, California, they are the county's only rape crisis center. And they have advocates both Spanish and English. They have licensed clinicians, both Spanish and English, that are there to support victims of sexual assault. So you can go to them. They can help you get tied up with whatever it is that you need to heal from this
And
crime.
then the third resource that we have for 1 in
1 in 6, yes. 1 in 6 is a website specifically tailored for male victimization. So we obviously, as we were talking about, there's that added layer for male victimization and male victims coming forward. So you can go on that website, get information from other men who have experienced sexual assault. They have peer-to-peer mentorship, that type of thing. Hear other people's stories, get statistics. It's just a great one-stop shop for male victims.
That's great. It's great. It's really good to hear that they have that. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like I said, 1 in 6 men will be assaulted in some time in their lifetime. You know, 1 in 4 women. Although that looks a lot closer to 1 in 2 because of anonymous surveys that we've gotten, but it's significant for both men and women, and it's amazing that there's so many resources out there to support.
Amen.
Well,
That's good.
this was a heavy topic, you know, but we definitely wanted to bring something to you guys because we love you guys. We know that this is something that, you know, a lot of people do not want to talk about, and a lot of you guys have, you know, like we said at the beginning, we all maybe know somebody that has experienced something that has been sexually assaulted, and you know, one of the conversations that I had with Viv, she's like, well, I didn't know at one point what to tell my kids. Like, we don't know unless we know. You know, we don't know what to say. We don't know unless it's happened, or we know somebody that it's happened to. Then we know. Then our little like light bulb is like, okay, now I'm aware. I got to teach my kid this.
Right.
I'm aware. I don't do this. You know. But if you don't know, then how are you supposed to be there? You know. So we do hope that you guys. Like we said, even Vanessa said at the beginning, you know, if this was something triggering to you, you know this is going to be triggering to somebody before sharing it, you know, letting them know to take care of themselves, because, you know, that is super important. You know, we have to be aware of that. And one of the other things, like with Jazz, when I first talked to her, it was so funny because it was last month, and I was just like, hey, so what are you doing? And she told me, and I was like, oh, we need to have you next month. She's like, well, actually, you know, the April is this. And I'm like, then yes, you are it. Like, you are such an amazing person to talk to, you know, seeking these resources. And I had told you, me and therapy, not the best of friends, you know. And I mean, a lot of people go through that too, you know. And one of the things that you told me, it was like, finding a therapist is like dating. Yeah. And it's okay. Yep. It's okay that if you talk to the first person and if you don't feel comfortable, find another one. Yeah. And it's okay, you know, because you got to take care of you. Yes. Absolutely. And, you know, when I started talking to you a long time ago, I felt so comfortable talking to you. There's just something about you.
Oh, she's my daughter.
Yes. You know, and I think it's a gift. It's a gift that God has given you.
Absolutely.
Because not everyone can do that. Not everyone can feel like that comfort when they talk to you. I feel, you know, and like I said, my parents got divorced when I was young, so I've been in a lot of therapy apparently. And I never talked, but talking to you, it was just so comfortable. It was so, I didn't feel like judged, you know.
You didn't feel condemned.
Yes,
you didn't feel you know, like it was your fault.
Feelings.
None of those feelings that come with it.
If you guys do reach out to any of these resources, you know, I pray, and we pray that you will find somebody that you'll feel comfortable in that way, that you won't feel judged, you know, because no, we are not here to judge you, like she said. No. You know, we're here to listen. Yep. We are here to help. And a lot of the times, us as women, we know, sometimes we just want to be heard. We don't want anybody to fix the problem. We just want to be heard.
Heard and walk through it.
And walk through this.
Like Jazmin said, we're here to
receive and believe.
Yes, receive and believe.
Receive and believe, yes. And know that if you don't feel comfortable with the first person you talk to, if you are reaching one of these resources, keep searching. You will find somebody.
And I will say, right, we have our biblical advisor, Christina. You know, so if you have any questions, if you want to send us an email, you know, I will say she has helped me tremendously as my mentor.
Yes, and so, she's graduating.
Yes, she's graduating
well, so she is.
next month.
She is a real counselor.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just an
Yeah.
advisor.
Yeah. So,
Anymore.
you know, if you have questions or you need, you know, if someone
Anything.
to talk to, you know, just
Yes.
reach out. We can definitely give you different resources and,
Yes.
and who to connect you with. But to the point of therapy, it's helped me tremendously, right? And it doesn't mean, you know, it just, it helps you walk and talk things through.
Yeah.
So it's not bad to get
not
help and talk
No.
to someone.
Yeah.
It's always good.
It's a good thing.
We always talk about like self-care. We think, oh, we're getting our nails done, getting our pedicures, but it's also therapy.
Yes.
Yes.
Therapy
Yeah.
is self-care.
It's
Absolutely.
the mental health aspect.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because a lot of times we think, oh, well, when we see a physical injury, then we're like, oh, we need help.
Yeah.
But
That's
that
right.
is not a physical injury. It's in
Good
your
point.
head.
Yes.
You don't see it,
Yep.
but it's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times people, they look fine on the outside because it's really easy to put on that facade.
Absolutely.
But on the inside, you're
Broken.
hurt,
And
you're
those are the ones that
broken.
you look out for.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and so if you
100%.
are there, please seek help. If you want to email us, like Viv said, Christina, she's our wise advisor. She is, you know, she just graduated with her psychology degree, and if you need help from us in that way, please email us. Our email will be showing up below. You can also send us a message even through our website. You can see our website below. Or even if you're right now on here and you send us a personal message, either Facebook or Instagram, we will, you know, definitely help you out. All of this stays confidential. You know, we don't share this with anybody.
Absolutely.
You know, this stays within us because we know
Yes.
how heavy this can be,
Yes.
and
You don't have to carry
we
it
don't.
alone.
You don't have to carry it alone.
No.
You know,
And we're here to pray for you.
That's
we are.
right.
We're here to pray for you.
We have a prayer ministry, which we'll talk about later. Sorry.
Yeah, no, actually, that was my next point. As we're finishing off right now, is, you know, we are, like Vanessa said, we are an online ministry, and we are so grateful and thankful for you guys watching, for you guys sharing. We hope that this show has been a blessing to you, that you can share to others. You know, we don't want to just do a show. We're not just a talk show.
No.
We're not just gonna fluff everything.
No.
Right.
We want to be real with you guys and talk about those hard things.
Yeah.
And we hope that it's a blessing. So again, we are an online ministry. All of our ministries are online. You can check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. You know, we have our prayer every other Tuesday of the month. We have our midweek pickup of our dynamic duo.
Yes.
You know, because we sometimes need that little pickup. You know, we're like done for the middle of the week. We just want Friday to come. You know, or we just want a little something. Again, this does not replace your one-on-one time with the Lord, but it's a good pickup,
Yeah.
mid-pickup, our dynamic duo, both in English and in Spanish. So, you know, you can share English and in Spanish. And we do have our Sunday services. Sunday at 10 is our Spanish with Pastor Jose Tejada. Oh, you see how I said that? And then we have our English at 11 with Pastor Ray Parra. I should have said Parra. I'm Mexican. But yeah, so guys, we hope you enjoyed the show. Please, the resources again, we'll be playing them at the end. So please, if you need help, if you want help, if you just want somebody to be that shoulder to cry on, to listen to, we are here for you. And again, these resources, Jazz said, you know, they're great people. I'm sure you've met some of these people from these resources, and they're just there. They want to help.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, one thing that I actually even forgot to bring up is that I wanted to know, it's like, and before we finish, I feel like I need to ask this. Why are you still doing this, Jazz?
Oh, yes.
Because this is really important. Because I feel like I studied to be a nurse, and I gave up because I was so broken, because I would go into my internship and people were dead that I had grown close with. I mean, I'm saying it so bluntly, but it broke my heart. I just could not continue down that path. And to see this, your mom was crying just listening to this. You know,
I couldn't. I would carry everyone's burden.
yeah. So
if it
how
was
do
me.
you do
How do you
this?
do it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's a God thing. I really do. It's something that I feel like has been heavy on my heart ever since I knew that it was a career. it was just an automatic affinity. Like, this is what I want to do. I've always envisioned myself doing something to help other people. I wanted to make that a career, make it so that it would make an impact somehow. And my ability to be alongside someone going through something horrific and helping them along the way is what it's all about for me. It's not about the justice. It's not about convictions. It's not about people going to jail. None of that. It's seeing people heal, you know, and seeing somebody gain their confidence back, seeing someone gain that, you know, their ability to do their thing on their own. That's everything. So honestly, that drives me for sure.
So I can imagine that, again, the people from these resources have a little bit of that drive.
Awesome.
Have a little bit. So if you guys do need help, please, please, please.
Yeah.
You know, these people like Jazz, you know, that's their drive a lot of the time. That's what they want. So please reach out. So guys, again, we thank you for watching.
Thank you, Jazmin, so much for being on the show.
So I'm Jelly.
I'm Vivian.
Lisa.
Vanessa.
And we're Imperfect.
But love.
Have a good one, guys. We love you guys. Thanks for watching.